So we will start this video off by me showing you how I make my soil for my indoor plants, and then I'll tell you a little more about the plants that I do have. But I don't just go to the department store and buy soil and put those in my indoor plants. I actually make my soil for my indoor plants, and I make it for all the plants. Now, I'm going to be repotting in the spring, and when I do that is when I start doing some trimming on some of my plants. So you may see like some old leaves that need to be trimmed off. I don't do that until I repot in the spring. So in the spring, you will be seeing me using this soil to repot my plants, and you'll be seeing me doing some trimmings as well. Things I am showing you can get in my Amazon shop cart titled Plants in my description box. And also I wanted you to know this is not a promotional or a sponsorship video. Alright, so the first ingredient that we're going to need for our soil making is some cocoa coir. And this is what I got from Amazon. Now these come in bricks. They come in bricks and they do need water to break down. Now when they break down, you end up getting a lot of coconut coir. So I'm going to start off with 2 of them. So yeah, you're just gonna take those 2 and you're going to put it in a bucket. I use the 5-gallon buckets from Lowe's, and I have 2 of them. So 1 you're going to use for these bricks, and I'm just going to start off with 2, and you're going to put those bricks in here, and you're going to put some water in it. After some time, it does start breaking down, and it needs to be broken down before you add your other, we're going to call them ingredients, okay? We're just going to say the other ingredients. So make sure this is broken down first before you add the other ingredients. I get 2 of these buckets, and the other bucket is what I put the other ingredients in, and then I mix them all in this bucket at the end. So we're going to start with that first, putting these 2 bricks in here and putting some water in. So also I want to add that you can just use this as you can put this outside as well. It doesn't have to just be for like your indoor potted plants. You can use it outside, and I did actually just use some outside around a tree that looked like it needed some more soil around it. So my bucket is still wet inside because I literally just emptied the other coconut coir out, and like I said, it goes a long way, but I used it outside, so it's empty and ready for more. So once again, I just put it in a bucket, and then I just fill it up with water. Alright, so here it is. Now you don't want to fill your bucket up with water. You don't want your coconut coir to be too mushy. So if you never used it, I would recommend you start off with, just a little bit of water first, and then gradually add more as needed. Now you are going to need quite a lot more water than you would think you would need, but do not fill the bucket up. Just, gradually watch it and add more as needed. You don't want it to be mushy or anything like that. So if you've never used it, do not fill your bucket up. Just kind of add about, maybe we're about right here with the 5-gallon bucket. So about right here with water. Do not fill it up. You can always add more as needed, but it is going to take some time for that to break down and get soaked into the coconut coir. So you are going to leave this for a little bit, but you can always go and make the other bucket of the other ingredients, and that's what we're going to do now. Let's get a round of applause for this amazing shirt. Alright, so the second part of the ingredients is going to be, we're just going to call these dry ingredients. And yes, I am in my garage because we're about to get dirty. So anywho, go ahead and grab you some gardening gloves and your second bucket that's empty. And for our dry ingredients, what I'm using is orchid bark. And I do get the orchid bark with the charcoal. And the perlite is already in here. And once again, all these ingredients is going to be in my Amazon shop cart titled plants. That's going to be in the description box. Now we are going to use like 1.5 bags of the orchid bark. In our orchid, I have no idea what that was inside of that bag. So our next ingredient is going to be some perlite. This is Miracle-Gro perlite, and I think I got like 2 bags this size for like $10 or something on Amazon. So that's the perlite we're using. You're just gonna put about a quarter of what you've already have of the orchid bark. You're gonna put about a quarter of perlite into this bucket. This is our next dry ingredient for our dry ingredients. About that much. You can always add more later on when you put your coconut coir in, but I think that's going to be good. For now. So this will be good for now. So that's the second ingredient, which is, once again, perlite. And you can find all this in my Amazon shop cart in the description box. The next dry ingredient is going to be some charcoal. Now, this is the charcoal I got. Now this is a small bag, so as long as you get charcoal that says something about plants and not about barbecuing, I think you'll be all right. But this is for plants. So, like I said, this is a small bag. I didn't realize it was gonna be this small. Of course, I could have looked at the description and seen that it was going to be this small, but I did not. I just seen it was for plants and it was charcoal, and that's what I just added. So there's also other bigger bags for plants. Like I said, make sure it says that it's for plants and you'll be fine. So this is our charcoal we're using. And we're going to use this whole bag because, like I said, I didn't realize it was this small. So we're going to use the whole bag, but you would usually just use about a quarter of this as well as a quarter of the perlite. You can always add more after your coconut coir is in there. Just kind of play it by eye. But yeah, we're just going to use this whole thing. And then there's tiny little pieces, so that's what we're using, dumping that whole thing in there. Our next dry ingredient is some warm castings. I get this one. This, you are also wanting to put about a quarter of this as well. A quarter compared to what you've already have in here. Those are all the dry ingredients that I use to make my soil. And then I'm just going to go ahead and add my coconut coir in here as well. Hopefully it's done breaking down by now. So we're going to go ahead. Alright, so I did have to grind the other one down with my shovel, but they are pretty much side by side exactly the same amount, and that is what I was going for. But I think I want to go ahead and add this into this instead of putting this into this, because it may overflow the bucket. And then also you do want the soil to be more chunky than not. So that is why we do use 2 buckets, because we are going to have more coconut coir left over, because the coconut coir isn't as chunky as the other mix is. So we're going to gradually add the coconut coir into the other ingredients. While you're gradually adding the coconut coir to the other ingredients, you are going to want to start to mix it up. That way there's none of the dry ingredients that's just staying on the bottom. You want to make sure that you mix it up really well. And this is how I basically got my plants back to health. When I first started acquiring my plants, I didn't know how important the soil was. So after I repotted my monstera that you're going to see later on in the video when I introduce my plants, I realized it died because I needed a chunkier soil mix. So after I repotted it again into my chunky mix, it bloomed from there. And so I did not realize how important the soil was until I researched, more about my plants and more about what they needed. I realized my soil that I was using needed to be more chunkier. And then not only did it need to be more chunkier, but the perlite is actually also helping. It also helps with the soil compaction. But then you can also use the perlite for some cuttings. Now you're going to see in my second video that I did not use the perlite for cuttings. I just used water, and they have been doing great with just water. But I think, because I do need to do some other cuttings, I think my other cuttings I am going to try this method as just an experiment. So we'll just use that in our next video for our cuttings for our monstera. Baby, that monstera has been going through it with me. She was actually one of my experiment plants, like one of my first plants that I wanted to experiment so that my other plant didn't die. But we're going to talk about her later on in this video. All right, so now I'm going to show you how I make my water for my plants. As you see, I have a pitcher here that has the word plants on it so that the water does not look clear at all. So I just labeled that plants, and then I have another one that's labeled plants. I do not put anything in these pitchers but the water for my plants. So that's why I label them, so that nothing else is going in these pitchers but water for my plants. So I'm going to show you how I make that. But first things first, I do need to water some plants. So let me go ahead and take this cylinder of mosquito bits out. And the reason why I have 2 pitchers labeled plants is because this one, it's round enough for the mosquito bits to sit in the water, but this one, because it has the little spout, it's easy enough to pour it in my watering can. It's not easy enough to pour this in the watering can because it doesn't have the little spigot here. I don't even know what this is called. We're gonna call it a spigot. It doesn't have this little lip here, so this is not easier to pour into the watering can. So I pour from here into here into the watering can. I mean, I guess I can get a bigger watering can, but I didn't. So we're gonna just take this out, and we're going to pour this in here, and it goes. All of it fills up the pitcher, so then you put it back, and now we have the pitcher full of water, and we're able to put the water into the pitcher easily from the lip of the pitcher. Now usually I do this over a plate, but I'm trying to record at the same time. So the pitcher, or the watering can, is not, obviously it doesn't hold as much water as the pitcher, so I could just go and buy a bigger watering can. But that is why I have 2 different pitchers, one with the lip to pour into the watering can, one without the lip, but it's better to not have the lip because I'm able to use my cylinder here for the mosquito bits. Now I also will mention the longer you leave this water out, the more it stinks. So I usually leave it out, you know, over a day and then use it. But like I said, the longer you leave it out, the more it's gonna stink. So try not to leave it out for too long. Try to use it, you know, the day after you make it. On the mosquito bits, it does say you can use it after 30 minutes. I leave it overnight to get the best benefits of the mosquito bits. So I would mention that as well. So we are going to mention the first ingredient, which is the mosquito bits. All right, sorry, I just need to wipe up that water that I spilled. Make sure when you are completely done with this area, just wipe it up good. I don't like to leave any of this water on here. But anyway, you're going to take those mosquito bits that you just used. I'm going to throw mine away. Okay. Now, what you're going to do is you're first going to fill your pitcher up with water. So let's go ahead and do that first. All right, so the first ingredient to making my water, well, I guess the first ingredient will be water. So yeah, we fill that up with water. So the second ingredient is mosquito bits. This is for fungus gnats. The fungus gnat larvae. As you can see, it says it controls fungus gnat larvae. That is why I put this in there, so that I don't get a house full of fungus gnats. Like I said, on the back of here, it does say that you can leave it in for like 30 minutes and then water your plants. I leave mine in overnight and sometimes for days until I'm ready to water my plants. So it does have, you know, how much to use. It says mix 4 tablespoons of this with a gallon of water. I have the regular pitcher, which a regular pitcher holds about a gallon. So, and here it says to use 4 tablespoons of that in 1 gallon. What I do is I mix 1 tablespoon per 1 gallon. If you only leave the mosquito bits in for 30 minutes, then yes, you probably will need to do 4 tablespoons of the mosquito bits. But I always leave my mosquito bits in my water overnight. And that is how I get the best benefits of the mosquito bits, is if I leave it in overnight. So I do not use 4 tablespoons. I only have to use 1 tablespoon, and that is how I've been able to not have a house full of fungus gnats. So you do want to make sure, once again, you have a pitcher where your sifter is able to sit in the water with the mosquito bits in there. You don't want it to be above, because obviously the mosquito bits need to soak in the water. Make sure your sifter is able to sit down in there, just like that. Now our second ingredient we are going to put in our water that we're making for our plants is going to be some Miracle-Gro plant food. Now I just take about a cup full of this. So basically I just take this cup and I kind of just fill it up. There is like some lines in here, and I kind of just fill it up to the first line inside of the cap. I don't know if you can see that line there, and then the second line there. I fill it up to that, and then I just dump it in here. All right, and then for the Miracle-Gro, basically it's plant food. The plants need food. It does say to apply every 7 to 14 days. I'm giving them plant food every time I water my plants. They are getting plant food, including in the winter. I know some people don't give their plants plant food in the winter, but my plants need to be fed in the winter too. We are in the last week of February, which is why in that last clip you seen them ashy hands. It is cold and they are still getting plant food and they are still doing marvelous. But for those people that want to follow the directions, you only have to apply this every 7 to 14 days. I do it every time they are getting watered. So that's that. Now the last and final ingredient for my water is hydrogen peroxide. That may seem odd to some people, but all this is oxygen. All this is oxygen, and this actually helps with the roots. The roots need, oxygen. It also helps with some of the fungus gnats as well. So I just kind of take the top off of here, and then I don't measure. I just do like that. And that's it. That is how I make my plant water for my plants. And I've been doing this I've been a plant mama, let's see, since 2021. So I've been doing this since 2021. And you've seen how my plants look. They all look great. So yeah, we kind of lived and learned through our plant mama journey. And this is how I make my water. So I only use this water for my indoor plants. I do not use it for my garden or my outdoor flowers. I only use it for my indoor plants. The main thing is that I want to keep fungus gnats out, but I also want to make sure that the roots are getting some good oxygen, and I also want to make sure that the plants are also being fed, which is why I do my water this way, so that I don't have to worry about, oh, have my plants been fed, or oh, am I gonna be getting some fungus gnats because my soil's too wet? No, I don't have to worry about that when I do this concoction. We're gonna call it a concoction. When I do this concoction, I don't have to worry about any of that. So this is just for my inside plants, my outside garden, and my outside, flowers or plants. I just hose those down, so I don't need to do this for outside, just the inside. All right, so now I'm just going to introduce some of my plants. Since this is my first plant video, I'll just introduce some of my plants. Now I'm not going to introduce all of them because that will be a long video. I am just going to do the ones that I've gotten before the year 2022. Now I say that my plant mama journey didn't really start until the year 2021, even though I got my first plant in 2020. It took another year before I really got into buying more plants and wanting to own more plants, which was 2021. So that's when I say I really became a plant mama. But I guess you can say I actually became a plant mama in 2020 because that's when I had my first plant. And I kept him alive until 2021 when I got him new plant buddies. So 2020 is when I acquired my first plant. 2021 is when I started buying more. And so I'm just going to show you the ones that I got before the year 2022. All right, and if you hear me say he or she, yes, don't worry, I am still talking about the plant. All my plants have a name, and they are either a he or a she. So yes, I'm still talking about the plant. And then also, I just want to show you how my plants look since I've been using the soil that I've made. And I want to show you what they were looking like before and then after, because these are like my first plants that I'm going to be showing you. They are like basically my first plants that I started off with. So I'm going to show you what the soil has done for me and my plants. So the first plant I'm going to tell you about is Big Frankie. Now, right now he is in the car with me on our way home. He's dirty. He got a snap leaf back there. He was just a mess. He is what you call a philodendron. That's how you say. Look, I don't know how to say the philodendron. I know how to spell it, but that is what he is. He is actually the second biggest plant that I acquired back in 2021. Now, I do have him tethered up because he is a very sophisticated young man, and without him tethered up like that, he would just be all over the place. So that's why he's tethered up. Now, this was the first time I seen a aerial root this long on him, and I didn't know if I was going to be attacked, or I didn't know what was going on. So I ended up cutting that off, and he has just been growing beautifully in this corner, and that is where he stays till this day. All right, and this is Tara, and she is the third biggest plant that I have acquired. She is a monstera. Now, I got her from Costco, believe it or not, and when I seen her, I just had to have her. She was just big and beautiful. Since I've had her, she has been putting out numerous, new leaves, and when they come in, they are the most prettiest, shiniest thing you've ever seen. So I've had her since 2021 as well. She actually was one of my training plants to train on with plants. As you can see, she was root bound, and I immediately transplanted her into a different pot. Now, she has been through the mud and dirt with me. So after I transplanted her, I gave her a good watering, but apparently I gave her too much watering. And this is before I knew about the chunky soil that she needed, so that I do not accidentally overwater my water, because this is what happened when I overwatered her, because I didn't have any type of chunky soil with her. All her leaves started to fall. There is one new leaf coming in, and then I repotted her again with the soil that I just showed you how to make. So I ended up repotting her again to get her back to life. Once again, that there's a new leaf that was coming in before I repotted her into the new soil, the chunky soil. But I did repot her into my chunky soil. You can see it there. That's the chunky soil. And then after that, she just started to bloom and then make those new leaves that I showed you. She's just been blooming since then. Now, she usually just grows beautifully with just the grow light, but I did have to move her to the window because I'm not sure, but on one side, all these leaves and stems began to just pop out. So what I have circled is where I have made some cuts, and I am going to do some cuttings on her to propagate some of her leaves, because this is not it. So this is after I had cut down some of her leaves, and I'm still having to cut down some more because, as you can see, they is leaning all the way to the right, and I don't want that. Now, this is an earlier picture of Tara and Frankie, and in this picture, you can see why Frankie is now tethered up. He, like I said, he's a sophisticated man, and this is making him look like he is white boy wasted at this point. All right, y'all, so I have 3 more plants that I want to introduce y'all to. My first plant that I got in 2020, and then my second and third plant that I got in 2021. All right, so this is Spidey, and Spidey is a spider plant. Spidey is actually the third plant that I have ever purchased. Now, this was not the size of him when I got him. He was actually a baby when I got him. So I looked everywhere for a spider plant, and finally I just went on Facebook Marketplace and got him from a lady online. Now, Spidey has grown up to be a big daddy. Like, he has a lot of babies out there. He's just grown up to be a big daddy. Now, I messed up when I tried to remove his wife from him. So, Spidey started growing a wife, like from his rib, just like Adam and Eve's story. He started growing a wife, and I tried to separate them so that they would, grow in their separate pots. Well, he didn't like that too much, and this is what he's looking like now. So we're still trying to nurse him back to health, let him know everything's going to be all right. You can always, make yourself another wife. But at this time, he was doing great until, once again, like I said, I tried to separate his wife from him. So, all right, let me quit playing. So basically, he was growing like another plant beside him, and I tried to separate them so that I can get 2 spider plants. But what ended up happening was that the other spider plant died, and then Spidey actually lost some leaves, and so this is the result of me trying to separate one spider plant into the 2, because it was, like I said, it was growing the second one, but apparently I should have waited longer, but I will not be doing that again. I will be waiting longer before I separate any other spider plants from the mother, or in this case, the papa plant. All right, and my next plant is Slither, and he is a snake plant. He is the second plant that I ever acquired, and the first largest plant that I ever acquired. Now, he is on a stand, and on the stand he's a little over 5 feet, but when I got him he was just a little baby, and now he is reaching for the stars. But I've got him back in 2021, and he is the second plant that I have ever acquired. All right, so the next plant, drum roll please. Now the next plant needed his own little introduction because this one is the special one for me, and the whole reason why I have all these other plants that I have now. He was my very first plant that I got in 2020. I still have him till this day. I had to basically use the soil that I showed you to nurse him back as well. But anyways, he was my first plant, and I wanted to keep him alive. So that's why I got those other plants that you seen me get, and the next year after, even though I kept him alive until I got them, I just wanted to be able to make sure that I kept him alive even longer than just a year. And I got those other plants as like kind of practice plants. So the next one is very special to me for that reason. He's my first one, and I really just wanted to keep him alive, which is why I got the other ones. All right, so this is Jarvis. Now, Jarvis was not even this big, even though this is not really big. He was not even this big when I got him. He was tinier than this. But he basically just didn't have the vines coming down. He just had like the little, top of him was just covered with the leaves, not the vines hanging down. But he was my first plant, and like I said, I wanted to keep him alive, and I just needed other plants to practice on. When I first got him, which was July 5th of 2020, I got him from my aunt after my cousin Jarvis's funeral. So he is named after my cousin Jarvis because I acquired him after his funeral. Jarvis has grown marvelously. As you can see, he used to have vines that I put up on my wall, and I was going to put him all around the wall. So I'm not sure if hanging him up on the wall like that was the start of him just kind of withering away, or if it was like the lack of light. But he had been up in that same corner without light for 2 years and still growing. So I'm not sure, maybe it was a combination of both, of not actually, having a lot of light and then just hanging on the walls instead of hanging down. I took him down, and then I put him in a bright spot, which is where he's at today. So this is where he's at now. I did actually take some cuttings from him and trying to propagate those. That is going to be in my next plant video. So this is what he's looking like now. He is growing, it looks like he's growing bigger leaves than what he was growing before. So I am excited about that. And then here is some of his cuttings that I'm propagating in water for the first time. I've never propagated any plant before I did this. So I am trying to propagate some leaves so that we can get more vines going on Jarvis, the papa plant. All right, well, that is going to conclude my video of showing y'all how I make my soil and my water, and then introducing y'all to my plants. My next plant video, I'm just going to show y'all how I grew these onions, these peppers, these snap peas, and these rosemaries. Whoa, is rosemary's a word? Anyways, these rosemary, and then also these marigolds and these tomatoes. I'm going to show y'all how I grew those from seed. And then we're also going to be transplanting these tomatoes from this nursery pot into a bigger nursery pot. And also we're going to be transplanting these garlics to a different nursery pot as well. So don't forget to hit that like, hit that bell so that you see my next video. And thank you for subscribing, and we will see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.